Then again. Anyway. Nitro number 168, November 30th, 1998. The NWO arrived in about 7 limos. The announcer said Hulk Hogan had retired. Now these men have no leader. What are they going to do? So they went from the limos in the parking lot, through the parking lot, into the building, through the hallways of the building, down the ramp, down to the ring to cut a promo. As someone who was running very late and needed to get caught up on time, thank you, NWO, for wasting 6 minutes before anyone actually did anything.
You know that you can drive those cars right into the building.
I love that
I was certain they got lost at one point.
they showed up.
Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
And the announcer said on the Tonight Show, this past Thursday night or whatever, Hulk Hogan announced that he is retired from wrestling because he's going to concentrate on running for the president of the United States. Because they said Hulk Hogan cannot run the NWO and the United States at the same time.
That's fair.
That's what they fucking said.
Yeah.
I almost died.
It's a good thing, too, because they actually showed clips, in 98 of him on The Tonight Show, which saved us about 15 extra minutes on the show.
So, with Hogan out of the picture, they announced Big Papa Pump is the new leader of the NWO.
Because he's got muscles.
He's got big arms.
Yeah.
Scott said Hulk Hogan invented having the largest arms in the world. Mm-hmm. But now I have the largest arms in the world. So, of course...
Because when Hulk retired, he no longer had the largest arms in the world.
That's right.
Apparently.
This is all so stupid. I don't know if anyone's noticed or not from the way we've described it, but we're not making any of this up.
Yeah.
It also looks like you can take a pin and pop Big Papa Pump.
So to recap, Hulk Hogan retired because he can't run the NWO and the United States at the same time.
Yeah.
He invented having the largest muscles in the world, but then he retired. He no longer has the largest arms in the world. Now Scott Steiner does.
Yes.
They're gifted to him. They're handed down.
So, Steiner is continuing the NWO's feud with Scott Hall for walking away. Challenged Scott to find a partner to face himself and Horace tonight. Yes.
Horace.
Scott Steiner and Horace versus Scott Hall and a mystery partner in your main event.
Actually, it was weird because...
Not a mystery very, very long, but...
Yeah, it was just weird. Like, I could have sworn... Maybe it was another segment, but anyway, it doesn't matter.
Conan versus Chris Jericho.
All right, here's the story. Because Conan beat Chris Jericho. This match went how long? Who has time?
You mocked me for so long I didn't even bother.
Okay,
anymore.
this went 30 minutes. Okay? Just went on forever. Way longer than it needed to. And during the match, I was getting so mad that it just kept going.
Yeah.
I'm like, why is this match so long? It does not need to be this long. Then they changed the title. And it was kind of like, well, the title change, fine. You wanted to put in some time for a title change. So, as we talked about last week, Kevin Nash is the new booker.
Mm-hmm.
Here, all of his buddies are getting belts. Now, granted, Jericho had not re-signed a new deal, and Eric Bischoff had given everybody the ultimatum. He said, if you do not sign a new deal, like, you're all being taken off TV till you re-sign. So Jericho hadn't re-signed, and so this was getting rid of him. So you could say that Conan had to win the belt because Jericho hadn't re-signed, but they could have put this belt on anybody. But it was Nash's buddy. So that's why Conan became the television champion, which apparently on our board, nobody remembered.
I didn't. Not that I have a great memory of the TV title or anything, but,
Far be it from me to critique anybody's cardiovascular, but Conan...
Not a good long match wrestler.
Got blowed up.
Oh, he did.
Dude, he gets blowed up like every time he wrestles.
He gets blown up when he does his catchphrases.
He gets blown up in 2-minute matches.
By the way, speaking of blowing up, I listened to Lance Storm's podcast today, Brian.
I heard.
And Vinny, do you know who Lance's guest was?
Was it one Timothy Flowers?
It was.
I knew he was going to be on the show. I heard nothing about it.
And they
what's so funny about this story?
They talked
No,
about...
hold on.
Okay,
Before you
I'm
tell
sorry.
what he said, I'm going to tell you the last time I talked to Tim.
Okay. I was
Buddy's
there.
funeral.
We were all there.
Okay. At Buddy's funeral, he reminded me that we had once done an Iron Man match. Like I needed to be reminded that I once wrestled for 1 hour with Tim Flowers. And he said, wasn't so hard, was it? It was easy. We just paced the entire thing.
Right.
He goes, I wasn't even starting to get tired till the very end right there.
Mm-hmm.
So what did he say on Lance's show?
Well, he said that
2 months after this discussion we had.
he said that number one, that you got blown up.
Yeah.
I don't remember this.
Let me fucking tell you a story, okay?
What have I done?
I'm gonna make it quick. Do you know how hard I trained for this stupid fake match?
I do actually remember this.
I got on that goddamn Stairmaster at Gold's Gym right up there in Mill Creek. I climbed my ass up those stairs for 90 minutes every single day. I climbed, then the next day I would get on the treadmill on the high incline and I would do intervals. Okay, let me tell you something, everybody. It's fake, okay? Like, you don't need to have cardio like this to do a 60-minute match. I should have just done, like, a 5-round fight. I fucking trained so hard, and when that match was over, I was kicking myself for training that hard, because it was a fucking waste of time. Anyway,
I got a good chuckle out of it because I knew that Tim was full of crap.
well, I mean, to be fair to Tim, he didn't get blown up either.
Well, yeah.
But let me tell you who didn't get blown up in that match. Me.
Right.
Killing the town, everybody. Storm and Cyrus.
It's a great show.
So Conan won. Jericho tried to use the belt, but it backfired, and Conan hit the X Factor onto the belt, and the ref said, well, screw this guy, and counted the pin. New TV champion. People, speaking of athletic events, these people popped like it was an Olympic gold medal win here for Conan. This TV title, the tertiary belt, meant so much to these people.
Well, you know, I was watching this show.
That's a word?
It's a word.
Tertiary is correct.
I'm going to
Yeah.
write that down.
So it's after secondary.
I see.
Tertiary. Anyway,
Before quadary.
you know what I noticed on this show? Is Kevin Nash is really over.
Yeah.
Now, granted,
And
it
he
was
knows it.
really, really stupid for this guy to beat Goldberg. But I do have to say, he was really over. When he came out to celebrate with Conan, the place went nuts. They loved them some Wolfpack.
So in celebration of Conan's title win, they replayed his rap video.
I didn't watch it again.
I didn't either.
I won't lie. And I loved it.
Me
I got a finite amount of time. Which, thank God, because this Flair promo, I watched this 3 straight times, through and through.
Well, you probably do a better recap than I can then.
Flair comes out. This was like one of 1,000 all-time great Ric Flair promos.
Yes.
Remember when Vince did that promo a few weeks ago and I just said he was the greatest character in wrestling history? It was not the greatest interview. Ric Flair is the greatest interview there's ever been in the history of this business. And I refuse to hear otherwise. First, he comes out here and he just cuts this great promo on Barry Windham because Barry jumped him last week. Then he cuts his promo on Eric. He says Eric abuses his power. He's an asshole. He says if Eric
Those are
wants...
exact words, by the way.
Yep.
Asshole.
He says, go ahead and bleep me. You're an asshole.
They didn't bleep him.
No.
He says, if Eric wants to fire me, fine. But tomorrow, in your neighborhood, there's going to be a 12-year-old boy who's going to come up to you and say, Ric Flair called you out. And Ric Flair's an old man. This is the key to this whole thing here. Mm-hmm. Flair, you can't bury a guy too much. Jericho talks about it in his book. About Goldberg, actually, when he did one of his promos on... Or it wasn't Goldberg, it was somebody. But anyway, can't bury a guy too much. Flair, in this promo, explained why. He said, tomorrow, everybody's going to come up to you and they're going to say, Eric, Flair's an old man. Can't you beat this old man? This Ric Flair, he's got diminished skills. He's an old man with diminished skills. Can't you beat this guy? He said he'd fight him tonight, tomorrow, anytime, anywhere. They're going to have it out once and for all. And he finished off with, come jump on this old man. This fucking promo. Okay? This was the difference between Ric Flair and The Miz. Okay? Miz...
There's only one?
Well, there's a few, but Miz is a great talker.
Sure.
But with the exception of the Daniel Bryan series that he had, Miz has never cut a promo that made me want to see him in a match. Never. Except Daniel Bryan. I did want to see Daniel Bryan just like beat his ass and show him how to do the kicks and everything else. That was the one exception. But Ric Flair made me want to see a match between him and Eric Bischoff.
That's a good point.
Bischoff is fucking terrible. The one thing he's got is he knows karate, and he can't even throw a believable kick. But when this was over, I was begging to see this match. That is a great promo. This was a masterpiece.
In his continued efforts to fit in here in the Attitude Era, he comes out in black jeans, a button-up shirt, and a black leather jacket. It was a big improvement over khakis and a polo. Scott Hall comes out for a promo. Outright says he doesn't have any friends anymore, but he will fight either Steiner or Horace one-on-one. Out comes Nash. Says they have not seen eye to eye lately, but if you need a partner, I'm your Huckleberry. Because Tombstone is awesome, and even Kevin Nash knows it.
I just love that it's just coming out to be Hall's partner.
Yeah, it's all water under the bridge. No big
Hall
deal.
threw him through a fucking wall, if I recall correctly.
I mean, it's been a gradual thing. He said that they've been in a gray area.
The wall was 3 weeks ago, by the way.
Well, yes.
Then it's fairly recent.
But he talked about how he would win when Hall was his friend again. He said he wanted Hall to be friends again. He has said this, and
this guy's a glutton.
Maybe he's one step closer today.
He's a glutton for punishment is what he is. And not one fan bought it when they came out together. Everybody thought one was going to turn on the other.
Yeah.
Raven and Canyon versus Scott and Steve Armstrong.
Yes, this was a real team.
Both of them, actually. Another for the Wacky Coincidence file, Raven's out here in an Inhumans t-shirt when they're about to get their own show here in 2017. I totally forgot that Steve was in the Young Pistols. I forgot which Armstrong that had been. He's out here in his Young Pistols gear.
Can't do that gimmick today.
Yeah,
couldn't do it then. He was no Young Pistol.
So Raven starts to cut a promo about not getting affection from his mom, and Kane cuts him off and says, dude, we've been hearing the same shit for 2 years. And they start to wrestle, and Canyon cuts them off, both of them, hits a bunch of finishers. Raven just leaves. Canyon hits a flatliner, has the match won, but he's distracted by his own partner walking out, and Scott pins him with a cradle. Big win for the Armstrongs.
They threw the best celebration afterwards.
Did they?
They just went nuts. They're jumping up and down. They're high-fiving. They're hugging. This was great. It was good to see the Armstrong brothers get a win.
I love Canyon's gimmick where he's, who better than Canyon? And the crowd screams, everybody. And he does it week after week after week and has the audacity to look surprised when the crowd turns on him week after week after week.
Of course.
You think he would get it.
The simple stuff works best.
I love Raven's gimmick where you get paid 6 figures and you don't do anything.
Also true. You didn't put your gear on. I guess he had boots on.
Remember at the end when they cut the pyro out and he gets in the ring, looks straight at the camera, where's my pyro?
Was that in Nitro or ECW?
Totally on Nitro.
Okay. That was a dumb question. When did ECW have pyro? Yeah.
Oh, they had a couple of sparklers.
They had some fire here and there.
They had fire. Not the same thing.
Mostly on tables.
Or people. Mean Gene brings Bret Hart out for a promo.
One of my all-time favorite promos.
So the story is, in Bret's words, Dean Malenko had tried to fracture his groin. But the people would not understand.
What in the hell's going on out there?
Well, since you brought it up, there's shouting going on. Is it downstairs or
Is
outside?
that outside?
Brian's going to investigate the mystery noises.
Are we recording?
Yeah.
Oh.
There's some sort of incident outside. Now he's peeking through the blinds, but he's not raising them so as not to be seen.
Well, he's listening through the blinds.
Yes, thank you. Listening through the blinds. Yeah. Well, I'll be very quiet so as not to disturb him.
Like our mics are picking this up, right?
I would imagine.
It's awfully loud. There's definitely shouting going on. Okay, Brian's left the room.
All right, Vinny, go to the end real quick.
How long is this cord? Can I follow him?
Investigative journalism.
I do. I feel like Gene. Grab a camera. Let's go.
It's TMZ.
No, a good reporter.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
All right, Brian's back.
I'm back.
Yeah? Is everything okay?
I don't know. It's
You
not
see-
my house.
All right,
See
well,
any
let's shouting's
blood or
outside then.
It's definitely outside.
Okay.
I'll keep monitoring it. If I keep hearing it,
Yeah?
Craig, you're going to go out there and see what's going on.
Is that right?
You heard me.
Okay.
I'm too valuable here.
That's true.
So anyway, let's
He
talk
owns the
about the
equipment.
beginning of this promo.
Okay, go ahead.
Bret Hart notes that Dean Malenko tried to rupture his groin. He had to have this planned
It's a heck of a grip.
because he didn't get a big reaction for the line, but he pretended he did, so that he could turn to the fans and say, "You fans don't understand, because none of you have groins." Died.
None of you have groins.
Absolutely died.
He meant it.
Yeah.
He straight-faced this.
He meant it with everything in his being, that these fans didn't have groins.
Thousands of groinless fans. He insisted his doctors would not let him fight with his groin injury.
Do you know what's astonishing about this? I just want you all to think about this as we recap this show. He has an injured groin.
Right.
For real.
Sure.
Okay, just keep that in mind as we get going here.
So Paige comes through the crowd and starts to make fun of Bret. And Bret says, listen, doctors, educated people.
Real people. That's what he said, real people.
He said, real people to educated people. They won't let me wrestle. So Paige called him a damn liar. He said, if it's true, then you have been excellently executed. And Bret got mad. And Paige kept trying to bait him into a fight. And Bret says, I can't fight. I didn't even bring my gear with me. And Gene says, it's easy to get your gear back here.
No, he says, we can get you gear. Like, someone's got trunks. Somebody's got some knee pads.
The way he said it was
I'm sure we can find boots.
We'll get a FedEx from Calgary in an hour, and it'll be here. So finally Hart says, look, if you want to defend your title against a cripple in a no DQ match, that's fine with me. And Paige agreed to those terms like a fool. Bret played him like a fiddle here.
Oh, man, did he ever.
Set a trap, and
did
Paige
he ever.
just dived right onto that cheese.
You know what? Paige was a great promo here. He pushed all of Bret's buttons, which, by the way, Bret wanted to be pushed. Bret was a damn liar.
He was.
Yeah.
Eddie Guerrero.
I love this. Not Eddie. Bret is a treasure.
Well, yeah.
Everybody buries his WCW tenure. And I mean, he didn't do jack shit, but...
but what he did was great.
He was awesome doing nothing.
He was awesome doing... Yes, that's it. He was awesome doing nothing.
Yes.
Can you get paid for that?
Hell yeah, he got paid a shit ton of money for this.
Huh. I got to rethink my life choices.
I think that all the time. Eddie Guerrero versus Kidman. Long match. Went through a commercial. A lot of sub holds. So Kidman makes his comeback. They do near falls. Then the ref gets bumped. The LWO runs out. Kidman wipes out Juventud. Ray wipes out Eddie. And I thought at first it was going to be one of those, oops, I accidentally hit my boss kind of things. But no, it was clearly what he meant to do. He throws the ref in the ring. Kidman hits the shooting star press. The ref counts 2. The bell rings. The ref counts a 3rd time. Kidman and Ray flee. This was a fine match for a long time and then just completely fell off a cliff at the end.
It had a bullshit finish. But my big takeaway for like the 5th week in a row now probably is when Kidman first won that belt, the place went absolutely crazy for the guy, and it was like they created a new star, or at least kind of a guy. One match when Scott Hall went out there and just squashed him like a geek, the guy has never ever recovered. They have not been into him one single solitary time since he got killed by Scott Hall. It takes one match making a guy look like a geek to kill him. That's the lesson I took away here. For all you to think wins and losses don't matter. They do matter.
Bam Bam Bigelow was shown sitting in the crowd. Bischoff and Barry Windham came out for a promo.
For some reason, Barry's standing there with his shirt unbuttoned.
Thank you.
And his guts hanging out.
It's not just that.
Why?
He had the denim vest and the leather jacket, but no shirt.
Yeah.
Wasn't even a vest. It was like a denim button-up shirt.
No, it was
that
a
he
denim
unbuttoned.
Vest. It was a denim vest that he wears to the ring.
His guts hanging out.
I understood.
His gut was hanging out.
Right.
And he's fat.
Correct.
What was he thinking?
He was thinking, back in the 80s, this looked awesome.
Maybe it was just really hot in November.
And he put a leather jacket on. I like
Fail, Vinny. Fail.
I like my stomach cool, but my arms toasty.
I can see that.
Regardless. Bischoff gets a promo, says the world needs a hero, talks about all the dire things going on. Says, come on out, Dean Malenko. Horsemen all appear. They are suspicious, but he agreed to send Dean down to the ring alone. So Bischoff says, listen, Dean, I'm going to make you a deal. I'm going to book you against Barry Windham. And if you win, then I will wrestle Ric Flair. And Dean says, in as wooden a manner as possible, the Horsemen never back down from a challenge, and tonight will be no different. We've been watching the Horsemen from the 80s lately. These Horsemen are not Horsemen.
Well,
No.
They're just not.
No.
Well, yeah, the two, Flair and Mongo. And Orange there. Yeah. Mongo, as a horseman, Mongo's a better horseman than Malenko and Benoit.
That's fair.
And he's a pretty goddamn good promo.
Yeah, that's part of it.
I thought you just meant the drinking and the partying and the not showing up for
That
work.
is also part of it.
He's no Tully, though.
No, he's not. Few people are.
Again, that's fair.
So Malenko accepts the challenge, and Eric says, okay, oh, by the way, here's your special referee. It's Dusty Rhodes. So Dusty comes out in his NWO shirt.
Also in a leather jacket.
He's got the...
He's gigantic.
He is huge. He's got the, like... It's like the Eminem haircut, but in the very back of the bottom, it's grown out, so it's a mullet.
Yeah. That's not a good look.
It's Dusty. You've seen Dusty's looks?
I'm thinking Craig should try it.
Ooh.
I'm thinking no.
Why not?
I got good hair. I'm going to leave it that way.
So Dusty cuts his promo. He's being all over the top and cheesy. Justice will be swift. I'm going to call it right down the middle. No shenanigans. At the very end, he says, may the best. And then he stops and he shoots Barry the biggest, goofiest smile ever. And he says, man win. I thought Dusty was great here.
He was a little too great. Kind of gave away the finish.
Little cartoony for you. Kind of could tell the future in that.
Yeah, this was too much foreshadowing. I knew a swerve was coming.
Well, Dusty's involved. Of course there is.
Wrath versus Bobby Blaze.
Hey, you remember what I said about Kidman? This
do.
fucking guy comes out and no one gave a shit. They kind of cared about the meltdown, but boy, Wrath is dead. Because he went out there and got beaten by Kevin Nash.
Some clever fan created a sign that said, you will feel Wrath's wrath.
I see.
Yeah.
So yeah, Wrath won. I have...
What's going on over there? How'd you lose your spot?
I realized I miscounted the number of clean pins in the show. There's 2. We'll get to that later.
They were in Tennessee. That's why it was so clever.
Kat and Sonny Ono came out for a promo. Kat dares anyone in the back to come out and fight him, and out comes Saturn. Kat says, you are weak. Sonny Ono beat you. I'm going to leave the ring and not tear you apart.
No. Says, as a young black belt, I was taught to protect the weak.
Yes.
It's you, Saturn. You got beaten by Sonny Ono, so you're weak. And as a good black belt, I'm going to leave.
As a good black belt.
Saturn says you're scared. And so, 2 fucking segments after the Bischoff thing,
Yeah.
they do the exact same angle again.
Yes.
Shad says, listen, if you can beat Sonny Ono, you can have a match with me. So Sonny's scared. Shad whispers something. Now Sonny's not scared. I can only imagine what he whispered. I've got a plan involving Glacier.
I got you.
Oh.
I got you, homie. Sonny Ono versus Saturn. Saturn hit a Falcon Arrow immediately. Knocks Kat off the apron, goes to make a cover, but Kat pulls the ref out of the ring. Glacier runs out, kicks Saturn, puts Sonny on top.
How did Glacier know about this plan?
It was all an elaborate plot.
This is a very elaborate plot that began with Shad issuing an open challenge and knowing that Saturn would accept.
Right.
So Saturn kicks out of this anyway. Then Kat throws a chain to Sonny, but it doesn't matter. Saturn grabs him. It's a DVD for the win, but the referee finds the chain, assumes Saturn must have used this. There's no other way he could have subdued Sonny Ono.
Well, when he was in the DVD, Sonny tucked it into his trunks.
I see. So the decision is switched. Saturn is DQ'd, so he gets no match with the Cat.
You know, I gotta say, this probably would have been better than Saturn versus Ernest Miller.
Yeah, probably.
And we're gonna see it, so I mean, we'll know one way or the
find
other
out.
soon enough.
Yeah, but we're also going to see Saturn versus Glacier.
That's probably better than Saturn and Ernest Miller.
I'm not sure, actually.
Goldberg arrived in a limo. Once again, somebody pulled him in the limousine and had to make the 6-minute walk all the way through the building and down to the ringside. Or into the ring.
Goldberg out of his gear. Looks weird.
He's very big.
You don't say.
The Red Rooster's there to run the show. Nash came out too. It's the contract signing. Bigelow is shouting, it should be my contract. So they get in the ring, and Goldberg's sitting there. And of course, they're not like on opposite sides of the table. The table's facing the hard cam, and they're sitting side by side. And Nash starts bugging out his eyes and making all these goofy little kid faces at Goldberg.
Nash was such a D-bag in this segment.
He was so hateable.
Oh, yeah.
So he signs. They had 2 contracts for some reason. Goldberg signs. Gene says part of this contract is that Goldberg will not defend the title until Starrcade to ensure that Goldberg and Nash fight for the battle for the title there. Suddenly, Bigelow hits ringside. Security immediately swarms him. And then they got to go the other way. They got to drag him from the ring back to the outside. There's so much camera time in this show just going from point A to point B. They take him outside. They throw him up the stairs. He's standing on the grass shouting, and the fans are all shouting back at him. There were a lot of fans outside. Just me for the middle of the show.
I'm sure they clued some people in.
I guess.
This is so bizarre because Nash is a babyface. Goldberg is a babyface. And Nash is just being a complete asshole. Like, as a fan, you just want to see Goldberg absolutely destroy this guy.
Absolutely.
You would think.
And it's not even like this led to Goldberg beating him in the match. He lost.
That really is the key.
I have no idea. We watched that Goldberg 24 or whatever, and he was a very, very angry man. He never had fun, he said. He never had fun until his final match in 2016. How the fuck did he not go over that table and beat the shit out of this guy? How did he not just kick his ass?
I don't know. Now, I think watching at the time, I don't think any of us for a second thought Goldberg was losing. So we probably didn't care about Nash being a dick because we figured he'd get his in the end. Knowing how it all ends out, it's so much more aggravating now.
Yeah.
It's so irritating.
Yeah, he booked himself into winning the title. And so he could act any way he wanted to. And the way he decided to act was like a D-bag.
Yes. I don't know. Booker T versus Mike Enos. God bless Mike Enos. Perfectly fine bottom of the card guy. People do not want to see Mike Enos beating up Booker T for this long.
Total nothing match, Booker won. Anything else?
One with a spine buster. For what I thought at the time was the first clean pin on the show, but I forgot about that Wrath match. So there's 2 clean pins on the show. Of the night, I should say.
Of the night?
Including Raw.
Oh my God.
Bigelow is outside inciting the crowd, demanding Goldberg come fight him. Lex Luger versus Bryan Adams.
Jesus Christ.
This match.
Of all the guys on the roster. Again, how many times have we... I feel like we've seen this a dozen times. Is it just 2 other shitty guys they keep putting together?
No, I'm pretty sure it's Lex Luger and Crush here.
Luger and Bryan Adams again.
Completely overbooked.
It's horrible. Ref bump. Announcers are paying no attention. Heenan's busy talking about moving to Canada if Hogan becomes president. Fucking Vincent has to interfere. Adams hits a chair shot. They do... Think about this. What is the worst move Bryan Adams does?
Pile driver.
So, hey, let's do a stuffed shitty pile driver.
On a chair.
Hit Luger with it. He kicks out.
Kinda.
Finally runs Adams and Vincent together, racks him. Of course, the rack always gets a monster reaction. Place goes absolutely nuts. This went an hour longer than it needed to. It absolutely sucked. I was furious at this point.
It was not very good.
They also mentioned that there was a Mark Curtis benefit show the night before, and
That's right.
they announced that Mark Curtis had cancer, and very sad.
They said he'd be back reffing soon, which was extra sad. But yes, Lex was supposed to kick out of the spike pile driver. He kicked out a little late. The ref counted 3 anyway, and the match just kept on going. Which is always a bad thing, because there's Lex and Bryan Adams. And yes, the torture rack cannot be screwed up. I can, but if he does it...
No, he got it on Bryan Adams.
Yeah.
It can't be screwed up.
Point being, once it's done, it doesn't matter what is going to happen
Who
before that.
was it that he had to try so many times?
Roadblock.
with? That's right.
But as I said at the time, and I stand by this, it made it better.
Can we just go back and watch 95 again?
It may not be a bad idea. So the point is, when Lex gets the rack on, doesn't matter how long the match went or how shitty it was, everyone loves the torture rack.
Mm-hmm.
Barry Windham versus Dean Malenko with Dusty as special ref. Okay,
A very tall man wrestling a very small man.
that is true. They were not in the same weight class.
No.
Now, this whole thing was about Dusty and a special ref, and the special ref gimmick is always stupid. And this one was maybe even stupider than all the others by the time we get to. So, like, this wasn't a good match because it was just about the ref. The wrestling they were doing was so awesome. They worked so well together. When Dean went up top, and Barry, I assume, by the way, this is Barry's first match in who knows how many years for this company.
No, it was the new Blackjacks. Well, in this company.
In this company, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe he felt he still had to, he still had a paycheck. He had to earn his paycheck. He was working really hard. When Dean went up top, and it was just a simple chop the guy's legs off from under him, and he gets crushed on the turnbuckle. I've seen it done 200 times. He was so smooth, and his timing was so great on it. It ruled.
Dusty and his, Dusty's a big man. Dusty's fat. Dusty would go down to count the pin, and he would take a knee,
Yeah.
and he would reach over and then barely hit the mat because that would require effort.
So it's Bronco Lubitsch.
And then,
Yes.
when he was getting back up, he actually pushed off of Barry to help him back up.
Yeah.
It was very heavy.
He was fat, and he was old. Fat old guys don't move very well.
Duly noted.
So they're doing this thing, and Dusty is being every shitty heel ref ever. He will count fast for the heel, but then stop counting when the babyface kicks out. All this stupid shit. And then Barry's beating up Dean in the corner, and Dusty counts 5, and he calls for the bell. And Barry is disqualified for kicking too much ass. But
Well, it was supposed to be like Dusty turning babyface.
Yes.
Maybe give him a 5 count that was fast in the corner or whatever. He was
Yeah.
looking for an opportunity. Whole point is, they did all of this heel ref stuff to make the swerve work. Mm-hmm. But fuck the swerve. It was so stupid. If Dusty is going to be on Malenko's side, why did he let his
yes,
friend take such a fucking beating before finally calling for the DQ? I'd kick his ass in the back. I'd be so mad.
yes, Dean went through 5 minutes of torture to get his DQ win here.
And then Dusty starts dancing and pulling on his dick. So at least we know he has a groin.
Thought Dustin and Cody may have been proof of that.
I must have not watched this that close.
Are you kidding me?
No.
He grabbed his wiener and just started dancing. I can always turn Vinny red. On
Wiener's
every
a funny
show.
word.
He just grabs and he starts,
Uh-huh.
as I'm doing right now.
Oh, you're thrusting your hips.
Yeah.
I see.
You idiot. Okay. So,
Keep your hands above the table, please.
Dusty is right, or Brian's right about one thing. This whole thing was in fact about Dusty. It was.
Well, that's nothing new.
It was. To be honest, this was an act of self-pleasure. Dusty got himself over to amuse himself. That's a fact. So Dusty's leaving. Barry goes to attack him. The Horsemen are there to beat him 5-on-1. Then they go for Bischoff, but the B-teamers are there to scurry Bischoff to safety, and they go to commercial. Scott Steiner and Horace versus the Outsiders. I had forgotten this, but since no WCW refs will work with Scott, he has his own personal ref,
Oh my gosh.
which means we get the heel ref gimmick 2 matches in a row.
Oh, yeah. Hey, let's talk about the best part of the show. So, Hall and Nash are going to team up for the first time in who knows how long. Mm-hmm. Hall is going to have a match. He wants a partner. Nash volunteered. He's going to be his Huckleberry. So, Hall comes out first. They don't come out together.
Right.
Hall comes out first, no music. And so he walks his way down the aisle. He gets halfway down and he stops. And he starts shaking his hands because he's going to do the double finger point to the back. And he's shaking his hands. And he's shaking his hands. And he's shaking his hands.
Somebody hit the music.
And then he looks at the camera and he says, I dare you to play the music. I dare you. And then they hit the music. And he does the point. And then Nash comes out and Nash looks at Hall, and Hall looks at Nash. Like, clearly they're pissed off about how stupid these idiots are for not being able to push the music button. But it worked, because the announcers were talking about how they're skeptical of each other. And they got in the ring, did their match.
Well, Hall did a match.
Yes.
Kevin Nash began the match in the apron, and he stayed there for probably 10 minutes. Just hanging out in the apron. Hall went the whole way.
Don't want to get hurt before you break that streak.
I guess not. It's every horrible heel ref match you ever saw. It's the same complaints I had last time.
This is the worst heel ref I've ever seen in my life. And that's saying a lot.
So, eventually Nash tags in, and first thing he does is just takes out the ref. Just throws him down. A bunch of stuff happens. Horace gets razor's edged. The ref is back. He still won't count. So Nash just picks him up and hits one of his best power bombs ever. Just planted the guy. And then a real ref ran in. He counted 3. This means, by the way, Horace was pinned by this razor's edge for more than a minute. He may have broken his neck. And Nash walks out on his own. And that's it. That's what happened.
Cool.
Goldberg. Stop me if you've heard this before. He's in the building, but we must follow him running out of the building. He goes charging out of the building. He goes up those stairs.
He goes up the grassy knoll.
They kept calling it a grassy knoll. They weren't even in Dallas. They were in Tennessee. Right?
Right.
Yeah. So they have a brawl. It's funny. Goldberg, like, security's following him, but then they get to the top of the stairs and they just stop. And the camera passes like through them to film the fight. So they fight in the grass for a minute or two, and they go fighting around some cars and trucks. And then all of a sudden security says, "Oh yeah, we are security." And they run out to break it up. That's that.
And I got a few memories of this Bigelow return here, but I'm baffled that they're spending so much time building up Goldberg versus Bigelow. Mm-hmm. And the Starrcade main event is Goldberg versus Nash. We already know they're not having a match before then, because it's been made clear Goldberg is not defending his title until Starrcade. Why are they spending so much time on this? This is the match I want to see. Absolutely. As a fan, not Goldberg versus Nash. This is bizarre. And they had a hell of a fight outside. Mm-hmm. They're completely blown up within about 30 seconds because one of them's fat and hasn't trained a lot, and one is doing 2-minute matches on every show. But boy, did they brawled.
DDP versus Bret Hart. So very quickly, Giant runs out to interfere. It's no DQ. So they just do 2-on-1 for like 5 minutes. Giant hits a pair of just massive choke slams. And then Bret he hits the second choke slam. And Bret goes over and just gives him the sweetest hug. Like when they chant too sweet at wrestling shows, this hug was in fact too sweet. Mm-hmm. And Bret puts him in the sharpshooter. The ref drops his arm 3 times. Bret wins. He's the new U.S. champion. And they gave him time to celebrate like this was a WrestleMania main event. Like after Undertaker lost and Roman left and he had like 15 minutes to make his exit. That's how much time Bret had here just to be U.S. champ with the Giant.
Let's keep in mind, by the way, that Bret has an injured groin. Let's put the title on the guy who can barely move.
Who can't wrestle.
What is going on?
It's WCW.
This show is so weird. We're building up a match we're not going to give you. We're making you excited for a match that's not the Starrcade main event. We're putting the title on Nash's friends, and we're putting the title on guys that can move. I don't know what's happening.
So the finishes on this show. Now I missed that Wrath one, so throw that in here somewhere. We have pinfall after a finish onto a belt. Pinfall after a guy was distracted by his own partner leaving. Guy got pinned on a 2 count after interference. A cheesy DQ when the ref caught a guy with a chain he never used. A clean pin by Booker T. A submission after a 3 count that wasn't counted, and also a bunch of chair spots. And then a DQ for kicking too much ass by a double crooked referee. I guess a clean pin or clean pin after 10 minutes of heel ref bullshit. And a submission after copious interference by a Giant.
Now, let me be fair here. Kidman and Eddie Guerrero, I mean, that was the timekeeper's fault. He rang the bell on the 2 count.
Absolutely.
This was not something the wrestler screwed up.
That's fair.
Or the referee. They all did everything exactly like they should have, and whoever was ringing the bell just got really excited.
Yes.
And rang the bell after a 2. If you're the timekeeper, like, you're supposed to wait for the ref to signal to you, right?
He's supposed to call for the bell.
Yeah, what are you getting so excited for, buddy? Just relax.
Mark.
I mean, Christ, it was a bunch of bullshit at the finish. It wasn't that exciting.